The first sign something was off, my keycard access to the executive restroom mysteriously vanished the same week Damon ordered $12,000 worth of branded neon signage. Not for clients, for internal vibes. I knew right then this man wasn't just a clown. He was a dangerous one with a corporate credit card and a vision board full of disruption. 9 years. That's how long I'd been the spine of Argon Tech. I'm talking HR, payroll, compliance, lease negotiations, vendor management, even building out our series of pitch deck while my daughter puked into a mixing bowl at my feet during a flu outbreak. No title change, no bonuses, just the classic startup mantra, we're a family. Well, in that case, I was the mom who did everyone's laundry, budgeted the groceries, and still got blamed when the lights went out. I remember signing the very first lease with my own LLC, back when Argon Tech was 4 people and 1 IKEA table. We couldn't get a direct lease, we had no credit, so I signed it through my holding company. Everyone forgot, including me, until recently. Then came Damon, brought in by the board like some tech world messiah. Hair perfectly styled, teeth like they were blessed by an orthodontist and Jesus himself. Used phrases like realignment and strategic overhaul in meetings that should have been about budget forecasting. One of his first moves? Replacing my Friday ops reports with what he called a culture pulse. That's code for making sure people feel busy while actually getting less done. He didn't say it outright, but his attitude screamed it. I was a relic. Too quiet, too practical. Not flashy enough for a CEO who thought Slack emojis were a KPI. Soon enough, he started delaying my initiatives, rerouting my direct reports just temporarily, and ghosting every calendar invite with my name on it. Then my email signature changed. No more director of operations, just Barbara. No explanation. No notification, just Barbara, like I was a barista at the Argon Tech Cafe. I confronted him once, asked if he was intentionally sidelining me, smiled like I'd just asked him for a juice box, and said, "We all have to make room for evolution. If you're still with me, and you've ever had some smug wannabe alpha roll in like a fog machine at a middle school dance, do me a favor, tap that like button and subscribe." Seriously, 90% of folks listening forget to subscribe, and this little click tells our team we're not shouting into the void. Helps us keep bringing you real stories like this. Back to Damon. Started holding closed-door meetings about reshaping the leadership narrative. That's code for gutting anyone who actually knew how the company ran. He brought in a chief people officer who wore ironic sneakers and referred to layoffs as talent offboarding ceremonies. I kept my mouth shut and documented everything. He once presented a deck titled The New Argon Tech Ethos and quoted the phrase, "Barbara is legacy. Legacy is liability." It was on slide 7. Didn't cry, I didn't shout. I took a screenshot and saved it to a folder called Damon's Greatest Hits. The team noticed. Quietly, they started apologizing to me in Slack DMs and kitchen whispers. "Sorry about that reorg, Barb. Didn't know they'd reassign your team like that." One engineer left a sticky note on my monitor that said, "Real ones know." I stopped fighting it. On the outside, I smiled in meetings, said thank you when they passed over my proposals, sat through brainstorming sessions about things I'd solved 6 years ago. I became what they wanted, invisible, but inside, I was wide awake, watching, logging, reviewing every dotted line I'd ever signed in those 9 years. And one night, while going through the old Dropbox folder I'd kept since the beginning, I found something. The lease. Not the current lease, the original one. Back when we had nothing. Back when no one thought we'd make it past 6 months. And on that lease, not Argon Tech, Barbara Green, LLC. Signed, filed, never revoked, never restructured. My LLC, my building, and Damon? Damon was too busy color-coding Slack channels to even notice. They called it a leadership refresh. Damon stood at the head of the conference table like he was delivering a sermon, sleeves rolled up just enough to show off his CrossFit scars and a faint tattoo that probably said something like grind. "This isn't about removing anyone," he said, while literally removing me from the calendar invites. "It's about alignment, focus, efficiency." Funny how efficiency always looks like middle-aged women being escorted out with a manila envelope and an HR escort who won't make eye contact. He unveiled a new org chart printed on slick cardstock, because God forbid a PDF do the job, and I scanned it fast. My name wasn't gone. That would have been too bold. Instead, was buried 3 tiers down in a new box labeled Operations Support Liaison. No reports, no authority, no seat at the strategy table. Just a euphemism for exile. HR didn't even have the decency to call me in for a talk. I found out about my role revision when a fresh out of college admin handed me a stack of printed timesheets and said, "I think these go to you now." That same week, I was asked to book catering for the next exec offsite. I used to lead those offsites. My calendar once looked like war logistics, vendor calls, investor check-ins, compliance deadlines. Now, restock breakroom soap dispensers and review Q3 kitchen supply invoices. You think I'm joking? I'm not. Then came the Slack messages. Not from Damon, he was too slick for that, but from his new golden retriever, a yes man named Trey who wore all birds and said bro unironically. Trey started pinging me like I was the office concierge. "Hey Barb, any chance we can get better coffee filters? These ones make the pour-overs taste like cardboard. I was at my desk, the one now wedged between the server rack and a stack of unopened monitors when I overheard them. Damon and the new head of product, some guy who used to run a smoothie app. They didn't know I was there. Probably assumed I'd left for the day like the other non-essential staff. She's legacy baggage, Damon said, laughing. I mean, come on, she still uses Outlook. It's like keeping a fax machine around for nostalgia. The other guy chuckled. Out with the old, huh? Damon sipped his cold brew like it was champagne. Exactly. This isn't 2012. We need people who move fast, think fresh, and don't act like every meeting is a war story from the Great Startup Depression. That one hit. Not because it was cruel I could handle. Because it was lazy, unoriginal. He couldn't even be creative with his disrespect. I went to the bathroom, locked the stall, sat down fully clothed and just breathed. I'd taken exactly one sick day in 9 years. I once emailed our payroll system from the emergency room to approve bonuses on time. I stayed up 3 nights straight rebuilding our onboarding funnel after a dev broke it during his ayahuasca retreat. Legacy baggage. That phrase kept echoing, bouncing off the walls of my skull like a ricochet bullet. I didn't cry. I didn't scream. I opened the Notes app on my phone and typed 3 words, start the clock, because now it was a countdown. He'd made a mistake, not just in underestimating me, but in assuming my silence meant surrender. I wasn't waiting for mercy. I was tracking movements, and I had leverage. He just didn't know it yet. I started with the Dropbox folder, the original one, not the polished internal SharePoint graveyard that Damon's people curated with pastel icons and useless acronyms, but the real vault where the bones were buried. It still had the old team photo from 2015. Me, 2 founders, 1 backend dev, and a whiteboard covered in dreams and dry erase smudges. We looked broke. We were, but we also built something, and I kept the receipts. Every early lease agreement, vendor contract, board resolution, loan application, I'd filed them all myself. I wasn't nostalgic, I was methodical. It started small. I exported Slack messages with key decisions. I screenshotted project handoffs Damon had conveniently forgotten I initiated. I made a copy of our incorporation timeline. Every deal I closed, every compliance audit I passed, every system I built, I traced the paper trail. Not for vengeance. Not yet, just in case. Because when a man like Damon starts clearing the deck, you don't wait for the wave to hit. You build your raft. Then I found it. Buried inside the 2016 folder labeled Lease HQ was a PDF called Hold Co Lease Agreement Final, signed. I remembered that night clearly. Thai takeout on the floor, my toddler asleep in the car seat next to me, and a building manager named Rick who was willing to overlook our non-existent credit history if we signed through a more stable entity. So I used mine. Barbara Green, LLC, registered in Delaware. Set up initially to handle consulting work in the early days, then retooled to lease the office when Argon Tech couldn't qualify on its own. The plan was always to restructure it later. But in startups, later means never. I opened the lease, scanned the signatory page. There it was, my LLC, the lessee of record, with a 5-year automatic renewal clause and a favorable buyout option. I sat there in my quiet, downgraded desk, next to a humming server tower and a pile of dusty keyboards, and stared at that document like it was a live wire. Could Damon really have missed this? I checked the board notes from the last 5 years. No mention of a transfer. No recorded amendment. Nothing about lease restructuring, just assumption after assumption. I took the next afternoon off, told HR I needed mental wellness time, which I'm sure they logged under menopausal fatigue or whatever other bullshit label they had for women my age. I didn't go to the spa. I went to a lawyer. Her office was in a converted craftsman house with ivy growing through the blinds and the faint smell of printer toner and cat litter. My kind of place. I brought the lease, the LLC docs, and a quiet fury that sat just behind my sternum like a loaded gun. She read everything in silence, only stopping once to say, "They really let this ride, huh?" I nodded. "What does it mean?" "It means," she said, leaning back, "you don't just lease the building through your LLC. You control the conditions under which they lease it. If that lease hasn't been assigned or renegotiated, and from what I'm seeing it hasn't, then Argon Tech has no direct claim to the premises." I blinked so I could, terminate it? "If you follow the exit clause, yes, you're the landlord, legally speaking. And if I sold the LLC," she smiled, "then the lease obligations go with it, including the right to purchase the property under the founder preferential clause, which you also wrote, by the way. Nicely done." That was the moment something shifted. I wasn't a passenger anymore. I wasn't waiting for Damon to cut the cord. He thought I was legacy baggage, but I was holding the deed to the house he thought he owned. And suddenly, I wasn't mad, I was focused. I walked out of that office into a blindingly bright parking lot, sat in my car, and opened my Notes app again. New entry, LLC status, active. Lease termination clause, 60 days. Buyout clause, $1 with founder signature. I looked at that last line. Read it twice. $1 for the keys to the kingdom. And a man too busy polishing his self-importance to notice the floor beneath him wasn't his to stand on. I started planning. Quietly, precisely. Because if he wanted a new era, I'd give him one. The company Slack lit up one morning with a post from Damon. Q3 is going to be a lean, mean sprint. Time to trim the fat and sharpen the edge. Attached was a gif of a samurai sword being unsheathed. Reactions ranged from fire emojis to a dancing banana. Mine was a quiet screenshot, saved to a folder labeled Strategic Idiocy. People talk. Even in sanitized tech startups where HR leads trust circles and everyone pretends to meditate. Whispers travel faster than product roadmaps, and soon the rumors came flying in from all corners. Damon was restructuring again. Some roles just aren't aligned with where we're headed. The same old purge script, dressed up in faux positivity and buzzwords like resilient reorganization. I didn't ask questions, I just listened. I let people come to me, engineers, designers, even interns. A PM quietly forwarded me a message from Trey, Damon's faithful golden retriever. FYI, Barbara probably won't be in the Q3 org chart. Don't make a big deal, just let it phase naturally. Phase naturally, like I was a zit. Then the digital news tightened. First, I was removed from the all-hands channel. No more company-wide threads, no access to team updates. Then the ops sync calendar disappeared from my view. I submitted an IT ticket. It was closed without reply. Next came the desk move. Official reason? Restructuring of spatial flow. Unofficially, a forced exile. They had a brand strategist from New York redesign the office space, and apparently my existence interfered with the open concept synergy vortex, or whatever crap they were selling. My new station was a forgotten desk near the server closet, literally next to the backup battery tower, which hummed like a dying wasp and leaked just enough heat to melt chocolate. A constant whirring drone, stale air, no sunlight, and a faint odor of old cables. I sat down that Monday morning, placed a plant on my desk, dead within 48 hours, and smiled because they thought they were banishing me to a corner. But I was in the belly of the beast now, and nobody watches the server closet. That same week, I overheard Trey talking to a new hire in the kitchen. Yeah, we're announcing some changes at the next all-hands. Damon's got this great closer line planned, really dramatic, you'll see. I stood quietly behind the fridge door, pouring decaf like I didn't hear it. Is Barbara getting canned? The new hire asked. Trey laughed. I mean, she's practically already gone. Just waiting for the curtain to drop. Waiting for the curtain to drop. That night, I reopened the LLC's operating agreement, the one I'd used to structure the lease all those years ago. Clause 8.2, transfer of ownership shall include right of first refusal to purchase underlying assets at pre-negotiated rate, exercisable at sole discretion of member. Translation, I could buy the building for $1. LLC owned the lease, but I owned the LLC. All I had to do was activate the clause. I finalized the paperwork in a fog of cold, deliberate calm. No revenge playlist, no glass of wine. Just a notary, a dotted line, and one signature that made me, in the eyes of the state and county, the legal owner of the property Argonne Tech called home. I embedded the property acquisition clause directly into the new operating agreement, tucked neatly between two procedural provisions. Clean, legal, absolute. I didn't send a notice, not yet, because the timing had to be perfect. And Damon, he was still too busy crafting his exit reveal moment for the all-hands meeting. He wanted drama. He wanted a mic drop. He was going to get one, just not the kind he rehearsed in front of his mirror. I slid the signed agreement into a locked drawer, checked my calendar, and circled the date of the next company-wide meeting. Then I added a second reminder. Courier delivery, 10:29 a.m., mid-speech. The detonation had a countdown now, and I wasn't just walking away. I was pulling the floorboards out as I went. The final phase started not with fireworks, but with a wire transfer. $1. That's what I sent from my personal account to Barbara Green, LLC, with a memo line that simply read, per clause 8.2 property transfer. There it was. The culmination of 8 years of paperwork, neglect, and Damon's terminal allergy to due diligence. I met with the attorney again, same cat litter-scented office, same coffee that tasted like it had been brewed during the Carter administration. She wore readers now, new since our last visit. She scanned the updated documents like a woman reading obituaries she'd already predicted. You've got them, she said. No question. We finalized the transfer of property from my LLC to me personally. The sale price was $1, legally binding under the founder preferential clause I'd slipped in back in 2017 when we renegotiated the sublease to expand the server room. Everyone else had been distracted by the coffee machine budget. Signed in blue ink, so did she. Notarized, filed. By noon I had the deed. The building, 4 floors of glass, drywall, and exposed brick where Damon staged his performance art leadership routines was mine. Next up, the infrastructure. The security vendor was the same one I'd onboarded 5 years ago, small local outfit, still remembered me. I called the owner, a man named Chuck who wore socks with sandals and answered his phone like it might explode. Barb, damn, it's been a minute. What can I do for you? I need the access points reprogrammed, I said. And I need it quiet. He paused, like, stealth mode quiet? Exactly. By midnight that Thursday, Chuck's team had rekeyed the main entrance, updated the building's digital access logs, and switched administrative control of the security system to my name. Damon and the rest of his bouncy castle leadership team still had their badges. They were now little pieces of plastic waiting to betray them. I waited until Friday to file the lease termination with the county. Gave it a nice poetic ring to end the week. The document was titled, Notice of Lease Cessation and Premises Repossession. Simple, legal, deadly. The building's records now reflected no active lease under Argonne Tech. No tenant rights, no occupancy guarantee, just a name, Barbara Green. Next came Exhibit C. It wasn't enough to simply own the building. I needed a moment, a scene, something that would slice clean through Damon's PowerPoint delusions and let the truth detonate right in front of everyone. My lawyer drafted it with surgical precision. Exhibit C, Declaration of Possession transfer effective immediately upon physical delivery to any current Argonne Tech stakeholder. Premises shall be considered repossessed by sole property holder, Barbara Green. All lease terms terminated. All occupancy considered revoked. We attached notarized proof of transfer, the deed, the timestamped security changes, and a cover letter addressed to the lead investor. I reviewed it that night while the office slept under LED ceiling lights Damon insisted were mood optimized. Each sentence felt like a scalpel. Tight, exact, no room for misinterpretation. There would be no yelling, no scenes, just a delivery. And then the ground would open beneath them. I put the file in a heavy-duty envelope, sealed it, and placed it in a locked drawer beside my desk in the server closet, my little war bunker. I sat back in the cracked plastic chair they'd assigned me and looked around at the humming servers, the flickering backup battery lights, and the dusty coil of Ethernet cable someone had tossed near my feet. I felt nothing but clarity, not revenge, control. Because Damon could plan his little stage show for the all-hands meeting all he wanted. He could leak more whispers, sharpen his punchlines, and fantasize about his legacy moment. But the finale wouldn't belong to him. It never did. The keys had changed hands and the locks were waiting. The subject line read, Quarterly All Hands Q3 Kickoff New Vision. New Era. Bold all caps. Damon's fingerprints were all over it. Probably spent 2 hours picking the perfect font and emoji combo before he clicked send all. The invite was for 10 o'clock a.m. sharp. In the atrium, of course it was the atrium. Damon loved the acoustics in there, said it made his voice resonate. My name was buried deep in the CC list. No personal greeting, no acknowledgement, just an open call to the sheep. I clicked yes. No comment, no reaction, just silence. While everyone else buzzed about the meeting. Big announcements, Damon's new roadmap, maybe another reorg. I was on the phone with a courier service named Eddie's Express. I chose them because they guaranteed precision delivery to the minute. And because Eddie himself once told me if it's legal, I'll deliver it. If it's illegal, I'll do it faster. We scheduled drop-off for 10:29 a.m. I didn't pick that number randomly. Damon's speeches always started late because he needed to feel the room. Then he'd open with a self-deprecating joke about being the new guy despite having fired half the founding team. By 10:20, he'd be mid-pontification. At 10:29, right as he reached peak ego, the courier would enter, with the envelope containing Exhibit C. But before that, one more thing needed to be done. At 6:42 a.m. that morning, I composed a brief email to Argonne Tech's lead investor, Marian Fuller. She was no nonsense. Former litigator turned venture capitalist. Sharp as a whip, allergic to fluff. We'd spoken often during the series of days, back when she used to call me the only adult in the room. I hadn't reached out in a while, didn't need to, until now. The email read, Subject, Exhibit C immediate review requested Marian. Please find attached Exhibit C, along with relevant supporting documents. This pertains directly to the Q3 all-hands meeting today. Advise reviewing in full prior to 10:30 a.m. Regards, Barbara Green. No emotion, no warning, just the facts. I attached the packet, the deed transfer, the termination notice, the signed acquisition clause, and a copy of the new access control logs. Time-stamped, certified, legal. I sent it. Then I closed my laptop, got dressed, and chose a navy blue blazer with brass buttons. The same one I wore the day we secured our first six-figure contract. Understated, fitted, sharp. At 9:55 a.m. I arrived at the office. Nobody noticed. The room was packed. Folding chairs arranged in a U-shape around the atrium's makeshift stage. Cold brew in carafes, branded notepads. Trey handing out swag tote bags like he was launching a lifestyle brand. I took a seat in the back, near the ficus plant they forgot to water. No one made eye contact. Damon stepped up at 10:08 a.m., wearing a microphone headset like he was about to deliver the Sermon on the Mount. Thank you, he said, waving his hands like the applause was deafening. Big day today, big moment. He began his usual routine, talking about pivots, vision, synergy. The word evolution came up 4 times, so did disruption, and then, finally, legacy. I folded my hands in my lap, checked my watch. 10:26 a.m., 3 minutes. He transitioned into staff recognition, thanking people who'd leaned into the new culture. No mention of me, of course not. I was the ghost in the corner. Then came his transition line. I've always said new eras require new energy. Sometimes that means letting go of what no longer serves the mission. He glanced toward me, a flicker of triumph in his eyes. I didn't blink. because behind the glass doors of the atrium, a man in a red windbreaker had just stepped inside. Courier on schedule. He held a large white envelope in both hands, moving through the crowd like he belonged. 10 steps. 5. Damon kept talking. So today marks a new chapter in. The courier stopped at the front row, handed the envelope to Marian Fuller without a word, and walked out. No sound, just the rustle of paper as she peeled it open, and the silence that followed as she began to read. I inhaled once, slow and deep. Then I exhaled, calm, still, because it had begun. The air in the atrium smelled like fresh toner and faintly of lemon disinfectant. Someone had wiped the folding chairs clean for optics, but left the broken ones in the back for people like me. I picked the one closest to the emergency exit, old habit, and sat without a word, just another name in the org chart, body in a seat, ghost in plain sight. No one greeted me, not out of malice, out of confusion. No one knew if they were allowed to. The new hires weren't even sure who I was. Barbara was now a rumor they'd heard in onboarding, like some ancient system no longer in production. Legacy software with no updates. Damon's voice came over the portable mic, crisp and cocky. He was already in mid-stride when he took the stage, pacing like he was too energized to stay still. He wore one of those slim-fit button-downs that scream, "I did 2 push-ups this morning, and now I'm invincible." "Thanks for joining, everyone," he began, smiling with teeth he probably practiced in the mirror. "Today's a special one. New quarter, new focus, new leadership era." Someone started to clap. It died mid-palm. He continued, "Now I know change can be hard, and not everyone likes where we're headed, but growth demands evolution. And evolution means letting go of what's no longer aligned." A few heads turned in my direction. I didn't move. Then he smiled wider, leaned slightly on the podium like a game show host delivering the punchline. "So with that in mind, Barbara, I think you know what time it is." My name dropped into the room like a cinder block into a kiddie pool. "Pack your desk." A few nervous laughs, scattered, uneasy. Trey, standing off to the side, chuckled too loud, like he wasn't sure if this was the actual moment or just a bit Damon cooked up for show. I didn't respond. I just tilted my head slightly, met Damon's eyes across the sea of tension, and gave the smallest nod a human can physically produce without blinking. A single syllable of movement. That nod was a full sentence in silence. "Go on, finish the show." Damon seemed briefly thrown, not because I resisted, but because I didn't. No anger, no tears, no begging. I just sat there, still, waiting. Around the room, people shifted in their chairs. HR reps leaned toward each other like they'd missed a memo. Junior Dev 2 rows ahead turned and looked at me with that face, half sympathy, half morbid curiosity. The silence stretched. Damon recovered with a smirk. "Anyway," he said, smoothing it over, "let's keep the energy up. I want to talk about the future. About how we're building something extraordinary, something agile, something adaptive." He continued to ramble, but no one was listening anymore. Not really, because the courier had just arrived. The lead investor had just opened the envelope. And the real show was seconds from starting. And me? I just crossed one leg over the other, folded my hands neatly in my lap and looked forward, calm as a loaded gun. Damon was mid-rant about velocity, or vision, or vibrancy. Honestly, he used so many alliterative buzzwords I half expected him to break into song. "We're not just pivoting," he declared, hands slicing the air like he was conducting a sermon. "We're evolving. And that means full-spectrum alignment, team, tools, and tempo." I could see the sweat starting to form behind his ears, the spot where his haircut lost control and started to fray. His voice was up an octave. The caffeine, the ego, the moment. Then the door opened. Nobody noticed at first. The atrium was large, the lighting soft. But I saw him, red windbreaker, white envelope, moving like a man with purpose. Eddie's courier, right on schedule. He didn't hesitate, didn't scan the room, just walked the cleanest line I've ever seen straight to the front row. Marian Fuller, lead investor, was checking her phone. She looked up just as he stopped beside her. He said nothing. Handed her the envelope, turned, walked out. Every head turned with him. She held the envelope like it might bite her. Tore the seal, unfolded the papers, and began reading. 2 pages in, her face changed. It didn't melt, it hardened. She stood. No warning, no gesture for the mic. Damon, his voice caught in his throat. Yes, she didn't wait. Possession of premises transferred, she read, loud and level. See Exhibit C. You could have heard a pen drop on carpet. A few people looked at me. I didn't move. Damon blinked like someone had just slapped him with a dictionary. What does that mean?" Marian ignored him. She turned to me, eyes sharp as broken glass. "Barbara, is this real?" I met her gaze without flinching. "Yes," I said, calm, measured. "It's already filed. As of this morning, Argon Tech no longer holds a valid lease to this building." Gasps, actual gasps. Someone dropped a thermos. Damon looked around like the room had betrayed him. "What the hell is she talking about?" he barked. "Clause 8.2, I said, still seated. Founder preferential purchase option. Lease held by my LLC. Terminated, property acquired. Deed filed and stamped, effective immediately." Trey from the sidelines opened his mouth, closed it, sat down. HR looked like they wanted to melt into the wall. Marian held up the packet of papers and addressed the room, not Damon. "This is legal," she said, signed, notarized, full supporting documentation. The locks have already been changed. And just like that, the atmosphere cracked. A project manager in the back whispered, "Holy shit." Someone near the ficus muttered, "She owns the building?" I didn't need to nod, didn't need to stand. The room was doing it for me. Damon took a step forward, chest puffed. "You think this means anything? We'll fight it, you'll lose," Marion snapped. No smile, no patience. "And any attempt to do so will result in a breach of fiduciary duty. You let this happen. You didn't even know who held the lease." He looked like he'd been hit in the head with a whiteboard. His mouth opened again. Nothing came out. People started shifting in their seats. Looking to me, looking away from him. The air was changing, and the balance of power, it had already left the stage. Marion handed the packet to the associate next to her and looked up like a judge about to read a verdict. "This building is no longer available for Argon Tech's operations, effective immediately." Her tone was final. Paperwork didn't care about posturing. Damon stammered, "You can't just. This isn't how business works." "It is when you don't do due diligence," she shot back, cool as polished stone. Across the room, people started murmuring. The ones who'd been there since the garage days, their eyes darted toward me with something that felt like recognition, maybe even guilt. They remembered how I handled everything. How I'd set up the LLC when no one else wanted to deal with it. How I kept things running while they were building slide decks and chasing angel checks. Someone whispered, "Barbara held the lease?" Another replied, "Since 2016, the holding company was hers." The whisper web spread. A few heads turned toward Damon, waiting for response, maybe even an explanation. But he was frozen. Marion wasn't done. She flipped through the packet again, slower now, each turn of the page like a courtroom exhibit. Clause 8.2. She said aloud, the founder preferential clause. Barbara could have bought the building for $1 at any time. She looked up. "Why didn't you flag this lease structure?" Damon opened his mouth. Nothing. He blinked, exhaled, started to speak, then stopped again. You could feel it, the sharp collective realization that the Emperor had no clothes or leases. I stood slowly. No fanfare, no music swelling. Just the sound of my heels on laminate flooring as I walked to the front. I could feel the heat from the lights overhead, the uncomfortable shift of bodies and chairs, and Damon's eyes boring into me like I'd personally ripped out his Wi-Fi. I turned to face him. "You run things, Damon?" I said quietly, voice steady as a scalpel. "Not anymore, not here." I reached for my badge, walked to the glass door at the side of the atrium where the security reader glowed red. Held the badge to the sensor. Beep. Green. The door clicked. I looked back. Damon stepped forward and did the same. Held up his shiny black keycard. Beep. Red. Silence. Not a word in the room. His hand lingered there like if he held it long enough the reader would change its mind. It didn't. He dropped his arm, stepped back, and just like that the illusion shattered. He wasn't the CEO anymore. Not of anything that mattered. Not in this building. Not in front of this team. People stood, some in slow disbelief, some in quiet awe. A few started clapping, unsure whether it was allowed. I didn't need applause. I already had the deed. Big thanks for watching, you sneaky seniors. Subscribe to keep the coffee pot brewing revenge. Your ex-colleagues won't know what hit him.